it. That was a great session from Scott, and I also appreciated all the tips that he gave us. And I'd like to take you through another journey through another app called the Customer Voice. So my focus is on how to enable customer voice for as an enterprise feedback management application for your organization. Okay, Mihir Shah, I'm a solution architect. I do work for multiple clients on IBM side, and I also do a lot of work on volunteering and supporting community events. And great to have Raz and the team who are organizing this. And thank you for all the sponsors who have supported this event. So I'll start going forward. What you will see is I have, I think, multiple slides on which I have this little scanner you can use. You can scan it with your code, scan this code with your phone, and fill up a survey I created just for fun. It will be there on many of the slides, so just go ahead and try it, and then I'll show you how to create such feedback surveys using customer voice. Okay, so my agenda, we are going to go through a couple of things on customer voice. In the end, I'm going to talk about Power BI integration. So things that you can do by getting the data out from customer voice into it's in Dataverse, and then from there to Power BI, and use some of the things that Scott mentioned there, right? And then finally, I want to talk about something new, which is till now you could only use or send surveys using customer voice application, but now you can use right from within Dynamics 365 sales or customer service app, you can send a survey. So that is the new functionality that I will a little bit talk about in the end. Okay, so scan this code every time you see it on the screen, and we'll go from there. So why customer voice, right? So why would an organization want to use customer voice? So if you're interested in knowing how your product and services are being used by your customers, and if you want to improve them, the best option is to get feedback from them. So you can get a feedback from customers, vendors, and even your employees, right, within your organization. So if you want to talk about your internal processes and how they are impacting your employees, especially in a time where everybody's working from home, the more feedback you gather, the better it is, right? So that's a whole purpose of being able to capture, analyze, and act upon feedback. So that's the application that we're talking about. What it does, it allows you to design and send the surveys using customer or contact data in Dataverse apps, or import the customer data. So when you're sending a survey, you can import your customer list or employee list or vendor list, and send the survey to. And it's very easy, very much simple. You don't need to code anything. I'm a low code proponent. So and as much as we can empower the power users to create surveys out of the box, it's very simple to use. I'll just show that as we go forward. We can also use Power Automate to you automatically send the surveys based on business rules. So sometimes when you are having a lead to opportunity conversion, or opportunity to an account or an order from there, you may want to send out a survey. Or in case of customer service, when a case is closed or resolved, you want to initiate a survey. So those kind of things you can automatically do and have a survey sent out. So that's another reason I would use it for. Now, Power BI, as we saw earlier, is very powerful, right? So you can link data from multiple surveys, and then you can say over a period of time, let's say every quarter, how is your CSAT, customer satisfaction score? Is it improving or decreasing, right? What is your NPS going? And it can be by account, by geography, or by product line, all of that. But you want to know year over year, are you making progress and all that? So that you can do by using Power BI also, connecting results from multiple surveys. What it also does is allows you to set up KPIs, right? So you want to take actions, but you also want to know measure stuff, right? So what is my KPI? Where do I stand today? What I need to improve? And then if something is going down, you need to get alert. So you want to know, okay, if this my rating, my ranking goes down, my CSAT goes down, my NPS goes down, alert me so I can let the opportunity owner or the account owner know, okay, look, there is a problem with your account, you better take some action, otherwise we are going to have problems. So hopefully you get to use this app now after this, and you'll be able to make use of it. uh, and then the new portion which I talked about is send survey from Dynamics 365, which I will you know tell you later. First thing first, licensing. So I want to get this out of the way. uh, I guess customer voice does not have license by users. So it is licensed based on the responses that you get for every survey, or all the surveys that you send in a month. So it is included. So the good news is, if you're having an enterprise Dynamics 365 app, it's included. The customer voice first 2000 responses are included for you. Now, if you want to have more than 2000, so for every additional 1000 responses would be approximately $100, or maybe €100 for every 1000 response per tenant per month. So that's the add-on that you have to keep on buying. And if you don't have Enterprise Dynamics 365 app, then you need to buy the license for the customer voice. Again, the licenses are 2000 responses are included in the capacity already. And then every additional 1000 response that you get per tenant is a complete tenant, not by survey or by project, it is by tenant per month. Okay, so we go to the next one. Okay, so where does the data sit? So it's interesting because everyone assumes that data in always will sit in Dataverse. No, it's not the fact here. We are talking about a service which is customer voice, and Dataverse is separate from customer voice. That they do share the data, but the data sits in both the places. So there is a data which is in the customer voice service, and then it's copied over into Dataverse, and then it's so any project data, any surveys, any questions, everything you create is part of that, this whole plan where the data is created in customer voice. You're basically creating this projects, the surveys, the questions, the responses also you're getting. It all comes to customer voice, and then it gets processed and it's sent to Dataverse. So very careful. If you are in Europe, the data is sitting in Europe. If you are in US or any other part of the world, as far as I know, the data is sitting in US. Okay, so you need to know where the data, customer data, and this is mostly customer data. So you have to be very careful where your data is, right, and how it originates and where it sits and where it flows. So this may be a very important way of knowing what is happening in the system on the back end side, when the data, how is the data flowing in customer voice. Okay, so keep scanning this code, QR code, and just you can scan multiple times. There's no limit. If you have problems, let me know. But just create some feedback surveys. Okay, so let's do some planning. So we want to plan for customer voice. What would I want to do? If I'm an organization where I want to implement customer voice, I would look at it from a, what are my goals, right? What is it that I want to survey? Am I doing survey for case resolutions or customer service? Is it for sales? Knowing my NPS score. So let's define those metrics, right? And how I'm going to measure them. Is it for lead generation? Is it for employee performance management? I mean, what is the survey? If I have a call center and I want to see how was the support ticket resolved, once the support ticket is closed, how did my call center rep performed? If I send out a survey, now you're talking about an employee performance survey. So it has a different impact than a case resolution or a lead management, lead generation survey. So you need to define those and have the quantification of those. They are talking about customer data. As I talked earlier, the data could be stored in US. If your Dataverse application is not in a Europe data center, it will all be stored in US for customer voice and the customer voice services. The Dataverse can be stored anywhere, but the customer voice service is either US or Europe. And make sure you are managing the HIPAA and PII rules. So don't you always have the unsubscribe link and many other things. You have to be comply for data security and regulations. And environment planning. So in an enterprise, most of our clients would be using multiple environments, right? So how are you going to have customer voice talk to those multiple environments? And I'm going to show you how as we talk about this. But those kind of three, those are three major pillars. You want to know what are your survey goals, your metrics, your quantification of how many responses, how many contacts you're going to talk to. Are all those contacts in Dataverse or they are outside somewhere and you have to import them? And what are the limitations? So I think you have this boundary defined, then we can go forward and talk about other things that we need to know. Okay, so security point of view, right? So who is going to be the owner of those entities or records that are created by customer voice? Who is going to own them? Is it going to be a user or a team? My preference is to always have the team ownership, but if normally it would be you want to try and somebody starts playing around with it, it becomes the owner of multiple surveys by default. So you would make sure that the ownership gets transferred to a team. Okay, and then there are some security role privileges needed also. So you can't just say, okay, you got this, go ahead. You have to make sure that they have those roles or they are able to access the application with those capabilities. So you can control them by removing those security roles so they don't get access to the customer voice application. Very critical if you don't want people to go in and just throw out surveys from your system. So you need to set up those boundaries yourself. Be very careful when you are rolling out a customer voice application. Who can do what is very critical. Transaction volume planning. So I talked about licensing, and there is the capacity response limits also. So we'll talk about that. But you need to plan. If you send out a survey, how many responses are you expecting? And then, do we have that capacity? What are we going to do with that? Do we have the licenses for it? Will it get stuck? We need to plan for that. And then finally, distribution of survey. How are you going to send the survey? Is Power Automate? Is it because a business process is running and you want to automate this sending of survey? Are you going to send out emails? Is your email client able to send out 5,000 emails? What if it gets blocked? There are multiple reasons you don't want to do that, or if you want to do that, you might have a service. If you have a service, are you going to embed a link to the survey so you can use embedding, or embed the survey onto a website or a portal, or you're going to put it as a link in an email that goes out from the system, and that link can have the link to the survey, or a QR code, which is exactly what I did. I put up a QR code so you can go around and use this QR code to fill up some of the responses. Okay, go from here. So limits. Okay, so there are certain limits. When you talk about customer voice, we are talking about surveys. So how many surveys a user can create? Maybe 400 is a max. So again, think about those limits. How many surveys you want to create? Number of questions per survey, 200. I would not advise to put 200 questions on a survey, so nobody's going to fill that. But if you want to put up surveys, you want to know uh, how many of those are going to be put up and who is going to answer all those questions, right? Who is your target audience? Very critical. Sometimes you want to know who is your target audience. Based on that target audience, you're going to develop the question there. There's a limit to the number of responses per survey. So when I went in, tried to increase that limit, right now it says 50,000. So probably it can be increased. I'm not sure, but right now the limit, as I see in the app, is 50,000 responses per survey, and then number of invites per email. So the way I figured this out is when you import into the email to send out contacts, max is 10,000. So that's probably the limit that you're going to get. You can do more if you're using something else to send out some other service to send out a survey using a link or an embedded link inside your email. Also, there's a recommendations for surveys per project. So max 10 surveys per project. So I'll talk about project and I'll come to that as we talk about this. But understand your space and talk about now let's talk about how to enable customer voice. So there is the customer voice app. It could be it's already installed. So you would go to customervoice.microsoft.com if you already have a sales or marketing or customer service app, enterprise app, that you have the license for it. If you have the license for it, if you have the right security role, if you're the right person to do this, you can go and set up customer voice application on there. Second thing you're going to do is create a project. So in customer voice, and we'll walk through this. When you create a project, there are certain templates that Microsoft has provided, like periodic customer feedback, service visit support, or you can just start from fresh blank. I would recommend to use a couple of the templates to just get a look and feel of how the survey works, and play around with it in your dev environment, and then start creating surveys from a blank template. Okay. So what does a project entail? Project contains surveys, satisfaction metrics, so email templates that you can have one or multiple email templates, Power Automate flows that it connects to, so you can trigger the Power Automate flow, trigger the sending of the survey, and then reporting, which it has. Project is linked to Dataverse environment, so that's important to understand. We'll talk about this more. Every project that you create in customer voice is linked to one environment in your Dataverse. You could have multiple environments, so you need to know one project will only link to one environment. Okay, so based on that, you have to select which environment the project will link to, enable survey users in environment. So you have to assign the licenses and security role. Licenses, I guess $200 for 2,000 responses. That probably is 100 now. I have to update this. And share the project with users. So you have to make sure you want to share your project, whatever project you create in customer voice. You share it with other users. This is one way of doing it, is from customer voice you can share your project, or you can come into Dynamics 365 Dataverse and go into the project and change the owner from user to a team. So there are multiple ways of making sure that the ownership is shared. So okay, to talking more about ownership, so those are the artifacts, or those are the tables that you have in customer voice. And if a user is a owner of the project, everything, that person is a project creator, then that's what they will own. If the user leaves the organization, you're in big trouble, because everything that you see on that table is now user owned, and the user is no longer there. Who is going to manage that? That's why you have to share the project, make it a team owned, and its team is part of Dataverse security. So you can assign the security roles and other things and manage the team in Dataverse also. So that's my thinking is to go as a team owned for project ownership. Okay. All right, so I'll talk about creating surveys. There are multiple options you can use for designing the survey questions, question types. You have the choice, text, rating, date, ranking, the Likert scale, file upload. The file upload piece, which is you see is not highlighted here. It's only available if you are using it for internal organization only. So only the employees of your organization or within the Azure Active Directory domain are able to upload the files on a survey. So that's a important consideration when you are planning your surveys. So if you're expecting a customer to send a file to you, you might want to send a link to a SharePoint, Dropbox, or some other place where they can upload their documents, or a OneDrive. And then there is a Net Promoter Score for the metrics, satisfaction metrics. Creating surveys. So I'm going to go through this. If you like, you can fill up the survey on the QR code. Define the variables. You can have up to 15 variables. A variable would be used, for example, if you are sending out a survey which will talk about your experience on a particular case, or when the case is resolved, you might want to send the case title or the case ID to the person who is responding, so they know, okay, yes, this was the case, it got resolved, and now I'm getting a survey for that. Same thing on the marketing side also. If you're sending out surveys on an event that was managed by your organization, okay, what was the event, when it happened, or something, some information that they can have. So those things you can send out using the variables. Also, the whole point of a survey is to gather metrics, right? And that's where you can use those Net Promoter Score or CSAT or sentiment analysis and those kind of metrics, and be able to capture that. Or a custom score, you can have up to 10 max on a particular survey. You can have multilingual surveys. 23 are the max that you can have on a multilingual survey. But again, you might want to check into that, test it out, make sure that it meets your requirements before we go forward into deploying it in your organization. Some branding and formatting you can do. Theme, font, color, background. There's a limited functionality in there. You can't go just do whatever you want. So it'll be very pragmatic, and when you are defining what the theme colors, you have to make sure this meets your enterprise themes or enterprise colors and the backgrounds in whatever you design. uh, you may want to go through some of this. All right, so now we'll go into demo for the project and survey. If you want to fill out the survey, click on the QR code, and we'll go from there. Okay, so there was a lot of talking from my end. Any questions till now? I'm not checking this.
Hello, Mahir. I'm just checking questions, if there's any questions in the chat. There is a question by Vijesh who's asking, we are using customer voice for vendor pre-assessment. I think he was just answering your question in relation to uh,
Yeah.
people who are using customer voice. So that's all for now.
Yep. No, that's awesome. I mean, vendor pre-assessment. I mean, who would have thought about it, right? It's so excellent. Good job. I mean, I like that. You are using it. It's great. Okay, so here we are, customervoice.microsoft.com. You log in with your Dataverse Dynamics 365 account, and if you have the right your right account, right license, and in place, you can create multiple projects. So I can go to my home here, right here, and you will see. Okay, so it tells me, okay, what are my customer sentiments? What is my customer satisfaction? And this is based on all the feedbacks that you're entering on that QR code, and what is my customer satisfaction, positive, negative results, all of that. So that's good. All of this looks positive. I see everything that looks good here. And then we can click on get started and then create a project. So as I said, when I create a project, I can choose any of this. I can choose a period custom. So the project is where you decide what will be inside the project. I mean, you can have a support, and you can have multiple types of survey within that support. So you can do any of this periodic customer feedback, but it's important to select and have your project named correctly, and be able to then say, okay, this project is for my this department, or for this geography, or for it is for this dev environment. So you can choose how your project will be deployed in that organization. Okay, so let's say if I do periodic customer feedback and then go to the next. So here is where you would say, okay, which is my Dataverse environment. So I'm going to use one of the environments I'm using currently. You can choose multiple and choose from all the environments you can see and select one of them. Now that's why it's important, because every project is linked to an environment. So if you have a dev, if you have a QA, if you have a broad environment, you'll have to create a dev project, a QA project, a, a production environment project. Okay, so based on what you chose as your template, the survey is already predefined for you. So you already have a sample templated survey in here, and it is great, because I'm looking at periodic customer feedback. I see this 5-star rating already in place. I see a couple of questions in here with from disagree to does not apply to strongly agree. And then I see a question here about feedback. I can do a lot of other things within here. What I can also do is, if I click on this side, I can click on customization. I can customize my survey as I want. So I want to, uh, for example, add some satisfaction metrics, add some branching logic, do some personalization. And so we'll go through that: languages, branding, formatting of that. So let me quickly show you a couple of other things before I do that. So let's start with this question, right? So I'm going to do the first question and say, okay, I want to do a symbol, I want to do a number. A number can go from 1 to, let me see, I think it goes up to 10. So 1 to 10, I can say overall satisfaction, or I can say smiley face. So I can choose smiley face also. How do you rate your overall satisfaction with the company? You can rate it by smiley face and then go from there. I can add logic, I can make it required, and I also have a subtitle and label in there. I can add a new survey question right here. If I click on new, I get the choice: text, rating, date, ranking, Likert, net promoter score, all of that. So let's say if I click on net promoter score, so it's like, how likely are you to recommend us? So that was one of the question I had added in that survey, and it says not at all likely to extremely likely, right? So let's say this, I want net promoter score to go down below the other question in here. So I can just move it down right there. And then I can add logic. So if I want to create a branching logic, I can add a branching logic. So I can say display logic, and then right here it gives me this branching logic. So this is a simple logic. If you see this, show question if the response, and then I can select a question, okay, any of this question from here, and then I can say, okay, I'll add a new. Let me just add. Okay, so give me a question idea. Use this. What is the primary reason for your score? Add selected. So I got this question, and then I want to add the logic, display logic. Okay, so the response or a variable. So I can have a response or a variable from the earlier questions in there, and then select the question. I can select the question that I have in here, which is what is the primary reason for your score? And go to the last question. Is there what is the primary reason score? And then I can enter a value, right? So is primary reason for your score is this, not primary. How likely are you entering? So right, how likely are you entering this? How likely is this is greater than or less than certain values. If it is less than a certain value or greater than certain value, show the question. So it's, let's say, less than 7 or some 6, like whatever number I want to add here, I can show the question in here. So a lot of options. There is the branching advanced logic in here, which I can use. I can use the simple logic or advanced logic. And if I click on advanced logic, it will bring me to more options. I can add satisfaction metrics. So because I added the net promoter score, I can add the NPS metric right here. And I can choose the question which is in there. How likely are you to recommend? And then click save. So these metrics are being added as then linked to the question. So every metric that you have here is linked to a question in there. So you can choose the question that you want for each of those metrics, and then based on those answers and the feedback that you get, the response will be collected, and then the metrics will be the data will be entered into the reports. We talked about advanced logic. Personalization. So here you can have the variables. We talked about the first name, last name are the default variables for a survey. You can have a locale. You can add multiple other variables in here. For example, the case number, case ID, case title, or if it's a marketing event, you can say which event it is part of. So you can add those also if you have any of that. So, and then with Power Automate, you would make sure that the variables passes the value from your Dataverse into the survey when it is set. You can add multiple languages. I would add a language, any of this that you want to go with, and that basically allows you to say, okay, this is a language for the survey, and then according to that, you have to select the template and all of that. So, branding, the hexadecimal number, fonts. I mean, choose the font that you like. There are not many options. Choose what fits for you and go from there, right? And then the background that you want for it, you can upload an image for the background also. That was branding. And then formatting. So do you want to show the progress bar? Do you want to show the question numbers? Do you want to shuffle the questions? Do you want the same questions? Because some certain surveys you want to have questions mixed up, so you want to shuffle the questions in there. Uh, so that's the customization on the design part of it. I'm going to quickly go into the send part of it. So when you're sending a survey, and as I said, there are multiple options. You can use Power Automate, and you can use email for sending a survey. So let's start with email. So if I'm sending in a survey by email, I can have an email template. It gives you the default template. Let me make this a little bit bigger. So this is a default template which you can update, or you can add new templates here from, and you can import it from other surveys also. So you can add different templates in there, create new, or you can add it from multiple surveys in there. Okay, so you can have some normally I would recommend to have every survey should have an unsubscribe link. You can have a survey link also, first question of the survey, and other personalizations that you can do. Okay, so where do we go back to add the recipients, right? So when you click on the recipients, you want to import the contact. So when you start uploading a file, it will tell you, okay, these are the advanced format, advanced options where you can have an email, first name in this format, and you can download that template. Once you have the template, you can have up to like 10,000 contacts information uploaded, and it will send out emails to those 10,000. That's the limit. So you're not, when you're looking at this, make sure that you know what the guidelines are. You can have up to 10,000 rows in here, and that's how you'll import the contacts. Or you can just search for contacts from Dataverse. So then if I say Jim comes from Dataverse, and it is a contact in Dataverse, I can just add him right here. So multiple options you can import, you can manually add and send the email, and you can get the response from there too. So that's let me just send this for testing. Okay. All right. Now, once a survey is sent by an email or any of this, you will get the ability to do a resend. When you want to send it again, or you want to send with a different method, you can use any of this again, and you will get the invites, because every time a survey is sent, it's an invitation. So the invitation goes out, and then when it comes back is your response. So again, your license is based on the responses that you are getting. Okay. All right. So I'll go to one of those projects that we did. So I had this support. So we have this customer service feedback, and I have the D365 community bootcamp survey. So this is the one that I created with the QR code. So if you can fill up, you might be filling up your first name, last name, doesn't matter what name you enter. Doesn't matter. And then you tell me what sessions did you attend, right? Did you attend sales and marketing automation? So this is survey. It took me like maybe less than 5 minutes to create, based on uh, what I wanted to show you guys. And then I added this question: how would you rate your experience in the boot camp? So this is a community boot camp, right? This is a volunteer run boot camp. So I think it was great. I hope you also like it. So get some feedback from you. How would you recommend? How likely are you to recommend this to your friends or colleague? And what is the primary reason for your score? And then I have some post survey message and thank you. So this, if you want to preview it, I would just click on preview, and right there, this is how your survey would look, right? So this is what you would get. If I click on a question which is gives me a lower rating, I can see the sixth question. Also, if I click on a higher rating, it will hide that question for me. I can also check how it looks on a mobile app. So if you are using a mobile app, you would probably see the survey in this format. So and which is great. You don't have to do anything. I just had to send the survey, and customer voice takes care of it to format the survey based on the device that you're using for entering the survey response. So amazing. I like it out of the box. Very simple. uh, anybody can work on these surveys, and there are formatting options right here: theme, color, image. I could put an image in there. I can change the colors, styles, everything, and then I can select send. Now, if I want to send a QR code, I just click on this, and the QR code is automatically provided from me. So I can select this QR code. If I want to send a link, click on the link, or if I want to send on a Power Automate, I can just click on Power Automate. So let me show you the Power Automate piece. So this is the case resolution survey, and again, this is out of the box. I not didn't do much change in it. So when you look at the send part of this, you can see that I have this is a flow which is running the 4 invites sent, and then there is 3%, 75% of the response rate is there. Out of 3 out of 4 have responded, and then I can look at this Power Automate piece of it, and I can select a template. So I can select one of this template. So send a survey when which one it is, case resolution. So maybe I have to create a blank or go from there. This is for the lead and the order fulfillment. Okay. So, so that's okay. So that I would just create a from blank, I guess, and go from there. Uh, Go from Power Apps buttons. Okay. Okay, that's a work order survey. So that is not what I want. Okay. All right. I'll work on this and show you. Uh, Okay, let's look at the alerts. So what I did on this is I created one or two alerts. So what the alerts does is it shows me if the rating came down, if the metrics are not good, it will alert me and say, okay, look, there is a problem, you need to look at it, and it will create those alert rules for me. Okay, yeah. And then there are the satisfaction metrics. So you can see the net promoter score, uh, how it is, what was my customer sat, CSAT, what was the customer sentiment. So over a period of time, how the customer sentiment has changed from being negative to positive, or positive, negative, and then positive again. So this is obviously sample data. I didn't really create much. I just uh, did some sample data for this process, so we can just test it out. Okay, so this is the field service feedback survey. I think I'll just go back now and let's go back to the PowerPoint because there's a lot of other things I'm talking about. Okay, so in the demo distribution of the survey, so we talked about this. Finally, this is the new part manually from Dynamics 365. So if you're doing the distribution, the Power Automate might be a little bit slow. It probably sends 8 to 10 surveys per minute. This is my underestimate from one of the readings that I had. You can embed in a web page, survey link, QR code. So this is a send by email. I did a demo of all of this, Power Automate, which and the distribution of the survey, right? So distribution of the survey, let me show you quickly how the survey distribution will work, because you would have to know, can you receive anonymous people answering the questions? Can they be anonymous? Are there any restrictions, and what is the availability of the survey? And do you want to use some email distribution channel, and you want to get notified whenever a survey response comes in? So those are the standard things that you would have from a distribution point of view. Okay, talked about the reports, the satisfaction metrics, which is crucial because your Power BI reporting is based on this satisfaction metrics. At the end of the day, what is the survey results, what actions you can do, what insights you can get, is all based on your report alerts and metrics that you are creating. Which, let me show this reporting part of it. Let's go back here, send, and the distribution settings. So here is what I was talking about. So you can say, okay, which can only people in my organization can respond. If you select this, then in the survey you can add the ability to upload a document. So that's the only way you can allow the survey responders to upload a document. And then can it be anonymous? So by default it will be anonymous. If it is not, you want to have them enter some information, you have to set up the variable settings and all of that. Can you limit one response per person? So if you only want one per response per person, you can set up that. Save progress of the survey. Responses, when you want it to be available. As I said earlier, you can say start date, end date. After this date, is survey is not applicable, and then this is the response limit. So as I said here, this is 50,000. Let me see if I can. Okay, so it's between 1 and 50,000. That's the limit. So you're not going to add more than 50,000 responses. You're not going to get more than that. You can have a setting which will say, okay, I only want 1,000 responses, and then it will stop after 1,000 responses are done. So that's one of the distribution settings you should be aware of. Availability, after a certain point of time, you want to make sure that the link is disabled. So if you provide a link to someone in an email and you forget about it, you say, okay, now this is end of the month, I want to stop that link. You can just disable the survey link right from here. So just go through this. I mean, they are very important, very critical. There is this email distribution channel. So if you had, instead of this standard email that Microsoft uses, you want your own organization email, then you have to do some setting on the Azure side. And there is a Microsoft document which talks about it. So I will not go into that, but that requires some kind of an authentication uh, of your domain name and email address and all of that. So that is a process that you need to follow if you want to have the sender one of your organization email addresses. And then finally, the notification piece on that distribution side. So we talked about survey responses. I will go forward. So managing customer voice, right? So copying a survey and copying a project. So we talked about moving a survey, having a survey or a project linked to your QA, demo, dev, QA, production environments. Now, you can copy a project or a survey from the dev environment to QA, QA to prod, or any of that. But when you copy, if you copy just the survey, the only the survey and survey configurations get copied. All of this other data that you have there may or may not get copied, right? So this will not get copied in case of project. Certain, like the satisfaction metrics, get copied. The data obviously you don't want to get copied from dev to QA to prod, right? And then the flows will get copied. The email template gets copied over if you select a project. Again, the survey response data will not get copied over, and you can copy across environments. So you have to be careful what you are going to do, how you want to copy from between multiple environments. So you're going to use the project copy, not a survey copy, so that the effort that you've already done in your dev environment by linking a project to the dev can be copied over into the upper environments. So this is your project environment copy, which I was talking about. So you have the dev project linked to a dev environment. You can have multiple surveys created here. You can copy the project into a test environment. So you have the survey one and survey two, which is now in the test project, and you're going to copy or update from here. That way, this gets updated, and then if it passes all your UAT or the testing, A/B testing, or whatever marketing surveys you're doing, you can then move it to the production environment. So this helps you to uh, kind of have a ALM kind of strategy, but it's not exactly what Dataverse would be, right? So it's not what I would do if I was working in a Dataverse environment. And these surveys are again not solution aware. So be very careful; they are not solution aware. Uh, Number one, you should not be working on this data in Dataverse. You should be always using customer voice to work on the projects and surveys, because if you try to make any changes from Dataverse, it's not going to reflect on the customer voice surveys. So that's because it only goes one way. It doesn't go from Dataverse to customer voices, customer voice to Dataverse. Okay, so that you have to understand the importance or the implications of making changes on a survey in Dataverse as compared to using customer voice to making all the changes on the surveys and projects and questions on them. So I hope that makes sense. There is a minimum security role privilege that is required. So this is, I just make sure that you know that there are multiple entities. So right now you will see there are maybe 10 to 15 tables in Dataverse that gets created whenever you have customer voice in your environment, and every environment will have those tables. So if you are having a person who needs to work on the surveys, they will need to have at least a user level privilege to all of these tables in here. Okay, I would not give delete to anybody in Dataverse, so take it out. Do not give a delete permission, because you don't want users to go ahead and delete stuff in Dataverse. So again, you might want to give them only user level permissions. All these dots are only user level. They cannot delete other users or other projects in there. All right, and then we'll talk about the Power BI integration on this. But before I go to Power BI, I want to talk about the new functionality that has come out. So let me work on this. I'm in one of my apps. I'm using the Sales Hub, and I'm on this lead. Now, if I want to send a survey, I can click on this right here. So this is a new button which probably came out in February or March. I'm not sure. Uh, and I click on send survey, I can actually choose one of the surveys that I have here, and I can say, okay, let me just see if send a periodic customer survey for this lead, and then click next. And now it will give me, okay, select the recipient, so I can say okay, because, and then select the template that I have. The locale is this. If I want to put up a name of the company, and then click on send. So that's one option on the sales hub side. And then similarly on the customer service hub side, if I have a customer service contact within customer service, I can actually send. So if I am a sales rep or I'm a customer service rep, I'm working on customer service, I don't have access to customer voice, I still want to send a survey, you need to have the right security role assigned to that user or manager who is allowed to send the survey. Without the security role or the privileges in their security roles, they will not be able to see this button and not have the capability to send the survey. So that capability only comes if you are able to, if you have that right security privilege in here. So this time it's picked up the recipient, so that is great. I don't know why it didn't do the earlier time. And I can just click the send survey from here. Okay, so just to quickly check if not this one. Okay, so I have this survey, I just send that link from here, so I can begin the survey. So I may have changed the email address to my email, so I can go here and that shows me my response. I can give from here, I can say neutral. I'm just clicking some of this here, so I don't need to answer all of the questions. Good, and then submit. So that's it, that's all. My survey is done, and then I have this customer feedback survey, so I can see the results of the survey. So let me go back and go to customer voice. I think it was a case resolution survey. Okay, so I can check the results of the survey right from here, right? So I can check, okay, what was the results? I got 5 responses, it was 4 earlier, and I can see the results of my survey from here. Now I can go in here and I can check each and every individual responses if I want to. I can click on any specific one. I can get more details about it. If I have if I have surveys from previous days or previous years, I can go and sort that out right here. So, all right, that's so how do I get this, right? So how do I get this button in here? So to do that, you will have to go to the marketplace. So go to the marketplace. So you go to Microsoft Marketplace. Is the one app source? Yes, right here, app source. I thought I had it open. Oh yeah, here it is. And go to app source, search for customer voice, and then you will see the customer voice app and then the send customer voice survey from Dynamics 365. So this is what you want to install in your environment. So, and it's free. Microsoft provides it free, and it installs the solution. It adds it to the solution, and then it goes from there. So if you go to the make.powerapps.com, I have it here somewhere. Okay, yeah, right here. So this is a solution. So this in my environment, make.powerapps.com, I have this set of solutions, and within that I have this solution, send customer voice survey. So what I did was I just went to the Microsoft apps app source. I searched for customer voice. I got a couple of options in there. I chose the send customer voice. I clicked on get it now, and that solution, I put in obviously the credentials of my environment, so it knows exactly where to install it. It will ask you a couple of questions. You agree to everything in the world that you're sending it out to Microsoft, and you agree to everything. Otherwise, it will not install in your environment, right? And then you obviously, once it's installed, you might want to publish all customizations and make sure you test it. It took some time to show up, so certain time the buttons doesn't show up immediately. It might take 1 or 2 or 3 hours. In my case, it took me a couple of hours before I saw the button on the lead. Okay, so it did show up immediately on the customer service hub, and maybe you want to try creating surveys before, so that when you are sending the survey, you have the surveys in here, so you have the options to which survey you want to send, right? So make sure you create those surveys in place before otherwise it will not have any survey to send from there. So that's the last piece on sending the survey. And we're talking about Power BI. So, okay, so Microsoft has, so again, you can connect Dynamics 365, connect to Dynamics 365, get the Power BI app desktop app installed, connect to the tables which I showed you, and then create your own customer voice Power BI report, right? So that's what I did. In fact, I just took this report which was provided out of the box on GitHub. It is there. I just installed the PBIX file in Power BI, linked it, and I just got the surveys. This is obviously not my data. This is the data which was in that PBIX file. But you can see that, you can see the key phrases, you can see your survey invites, responses, average of the CSAT, sentiments, what is the performance of the agents that are working on that project or on those. So you get to see the agent performance in here, and the customer satisfaction. You can see your accounts and then average customer satisfaction scores in there. So multiple options you can do. You have the report, you have the data set. You can schedule a refresh of the data set. You can choose how Power BI, or you can export it to Synapse and work from Synapse from that too. So based on your options, Power BI is a great tool you use for customer voice. I put in some of the entities in here. You make sure you add the activity party and the contact table. So that's, for when you're creating a Power BI report, you might want to do that. You can other things are based on, are you talking about customer service for a case, opportunity, account, contacts. Obviously contact is required, so that you should do. And then publish the report and create your own Power BI uh, integration is there. Okay. So I think that's it. Any questions from the team?
Thank you, Mahir. There are a few questions here in the chat. So there is a question by Natalia asking, is there a way to send a reminder to the people if they don't answer the survey after some days?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would do is create a Power Automate, and if so the every invite you send, there a response linked to the invite, and if the response doesn't come after a certain amount of day, you can have a Power Automate that will run and say, okay, there's no response, send a reminder, right? I mean that, but that's not out of the box, but it's a good, very good fit. You should provide that feedback to Microsoft. But you can do a resend of the surveys. You can send the whole resend. There's a resend option, so you can send the survey twice. But I hate people when they send me multiple emails. So depends on your choice. You can have a Power Automate and say, kindly please respond to our survey, and you can have that going based on your, it's a 2 day or 3 days wait period, and then start the Power Automate to run.
Thank you, Mahir. So Debbie has 3 questions. Debbie's first question is, does a large number of sent surveys get the IP blocked?
It does, right? So that's why you have to be very careful. I would recommend to use a service if you are using large number and you're doing it multiple times in a year. Use a marketing service, right? So use this for creating your surveys and getting the response and working with Dataverse. But for sending, you can create the link from here and put that link in an email, which you can have it using a marketing service that whole focus is sending. But this one, again, let me quickly show you. I don't know if I was clear on this. Hold on a second. So this one does use marketing, right? So it does use to send, distribute the survey. It does use the Dynamics 365 marketing email service. So you can have go with this with the sending out the emails, and but it could be that there is a possibility that your IP get blocked. So you can, depending on if you are sending out more than 50,000, you obviously need to go through a professional marketing service for more than 50,000. But if it is even high numbers, you want to think about that. But
So, yeah,
yeah,
thanks,
that's my
Mahir.
recommendation.
Yep, spot on. Awesome. Fantastic reply. Debbie's second question is GDPR. Do you need approval in order to send the survey?
So I'm not an expert in GDPR. The only thing I know is if somebody says, do not send me in the survey, you want to capture that, right? So probably the first time you send the survey, they will say unsubscribe. And that unsubscribe link is there in each survey that is sent out. So if you delete it, that's a problem. But if you send out a survey with an unsubscribe link, it will unsubscribe that person from that future surveys. But there may be other regulations that I'm not aware of. One thing I know is the data in GDPR has to reside in Europe, right? That is taken care of by Microsoft. Though when you see this customer voice services, obviously your data was will be in Europe, and the customer voice service data will also be in Europe. So those are the 2 points I can tell you about GDPR. Other than that, I would recommend to go to an expert.
Thank you so much, Mahir. So that's perfectly timed. So lots of great questions from Debbie, Natalia, and everyone, and David. So thank you so much for your contributions and input. Thank you, Mahir, for delivering this and topping off this as the last session of the boot camp. We've covered all the modules of Dynamics 365. So I want to thank you for joining us all the way from New York. Being part of this boot camp. Do you have any final comments or anything to share,
No,
Meher?
no, I just want to thank you, Raz, and all the volunteers who worked on this, and all the speakers, great speakers, and thank you for all the attendees who attended the event. Thank you for being part of this great community. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Meher. Please share. Don't forget to share your contact details in the chat so that the community can keep in touch with you.
Yes, yes, will do.
So Meher is a community leader in New York, and he's always doing some great posts. So on that note, off that, we do our next event.